In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where civilizations rise and fall like cosmic dominoes, there exists a peculiar little planet that has become the subject of much head-scratching, tentacle twisting, and gelatinous blob jiggling among the galactic community. This planet, known to its inhabitants as Earth, has somehow managed to remain unconquered, unannihilated, and generally unbothered by the myriad of spacefaring species that call our galaxy home. To understand this paradox, we must turn our attention to the Galactic Council of Supreme Beings, Overlords, and occasional pencil pushers, GeekSpot for short, because even aliens love a good acronym. This illustrious body, responsible for maintaining order in the cosmos and deciding which planets get the honor of being transformed into intergalactic parking lots, had gathered for what promised to be a most unusual session. The council chamber, a massive hall that looked like the love child of a sci-fi movie set in an IKEA showroom, buzzed with activity. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and states of matter shuffled or oozed to their seats. The air was thick with anticipation and the faint smell of cosmic cheese puffs, the favored snack of the lactose-intolerant hive mind, from the curdled nebula. At the podium stood Supreme Overlord Zix 567 of the Blorkshian Empire, a being whose appearance could best be described as an octopus having an existential crisis. He cleared his throat analogues, a sound not unlike a garbage disposal choking on a rubber duck, and addressed the assembly. Esteemed colleagues, lesser beings, and whatever Carl is. I'm the janitor, interjected Carl, a nondescript biped whose mop left trails of questionable alien slime across the floor. Right? Yes, thank you, Carl. Zix 567 continued, his tentacles waving dismissively. We are gathered here today to discuss a matter of utmost importance. It has come to our attention that there is a planet in the Sol system that remains unaffiliated. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber, followed by the sound of several beings choking on their coffee equivalents. One particularly dramatic gaseous entity from the Oort Cloud Cooperative expanded so rapidly in shock that it accidentally engulfed 3 nearby delegates. You mean? Ambassador QWERTY of the Silicon Sentience beeped nervously, his LED eyes flickering like a faulty Christmas tree. Yes, Zix 567 confirmed gravely. Earth. The room erupted into chaos. Tentacles flailed, antennae twitched, and at least one being exploded in a shower of sparkles. They reformed quickly. It was just for dramatic effect. But, stuttered General Blarg of the Warrior Wombat Collective, his adorable furry face contorted in confusion. Why hasn't anyone conquered them yet? They're so squishy. Zix 567 sighed, a sound like a deflating balloon mixed with a dying harmonica. That's precisely why we're here today. We need to understand why Earth remains untouched. Admiral Pew Pew, please present your findings. Admiral Pew Pew, a being composed entirely of lasers and bad decisions, flickered to life at the podium. His appearance was met with a chorus of ohs and ahs, and more than a few complaints about epilepsy warnings. Right, so like we sent a scout ship to check out Earth, yeah. And let me tell you, it was wild. The Admiral's voice crackled with excitement, quite literally, as small sparks flew from his laser mouth. First off, their planetary defense system is bonkers. They've got this thing called nuclear deterrence. Basically, they're like, hey, if you attack us, we'll blow up everything, including ourselves. It's like playing chess with a pyromaniac. Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. Ambassador QWERTY raised a metallic hand. Excuse me, but that sounds highly illogical. Why would a species threaten its own destruction? Admiral Pew Pew laughed, a sound like a malfunctioning disco ball. Oh, sweet summer robot, that's just the tip of the iceberg, lettuce. These humans, they're like if chaos had babies with unpredictability, and then those babies grew up and decided to play who can make the universe question its own existence as a hobby. He flickered an image onto the main screen, showing a human standing on a thin board, sliding down a snow-covered mountain. Look at this. They strap planks to their feet and throw themselves down frozen water mountains for fun. General Blarg's eyes widened. But that's how we torture prisoners. Exactly, Pew Pew exclaimed. And check this out. The image changed to show humans jumping out of perfectly good aircraft. They leap out of flying machines with nothing but a piece of fabric to slow their fall. They call it skydiving and consider it a recreational activity. The gelatinous blob representative from Sector 7G gurgled in disbelief. Surely this is a form of execution. Nope. Pew Pew's lasers danced with glee. They do this voluntarily. For the adrenaline rush, whatever that means. The council chamber erupted into a cacophony of bewildered exclamations. The hive mind of the insectoid collective buzzed so intensely that several of its drones short-circuited. The photosynthetic delegation had to be misted with emergency electrolytes to prevent wilting from sheer shock. Zyx-567 waved a tentacle to calm the increasingly agitated crowd. "Admiral, while these activities are indeed concerning, surely they can't be the reason we haven't conquered Earth yet." Pew-Pew's lasers dimmed slightly. "Well, no. The real reason is, well, it's their history." He projected a series of images, each more terrifying than the last. Scenes of human warfare throughout the ages flashed before the assembled aliens' eyes, from ancient battles with spears and swords to modern conflicts with tanks and planes. The progression of human warfare unfolded like a horrifying flipbook. "You see," Pew-Pew continued, his voice uncharacteristically serious, "humans have been fighting each other since they figured out how to pick up sticks. They've turned warfare into an art form. An incredibly messy, horrifyingly efficient art form." The images shifted to show various human weapons, from simple spears to nuclear warheads. They went from throwing pointy sticks to splitting atoms in less time than it takes most species to figure out how to make a decent cup of coffee. Ambassador Cordy's circuits nearly fried. But that's impossible. The development of such technology should take millennia." Pew-Pew shrugged. "An impressive feat for a being made of light. Tell that to the humans. They speedrun technological advancement like it was a competitive sport. And here's the kicker, they did all this while fighting amongst themselves constantly." General Blarg leaned forward, his cute button nose twitching with interest. "So you're saying they're formidable warriors? Formidable?" Pew-Pew laughed. "General, these humans make your warrior wombats look like a bunch of cuddly stuffed toys, no offense." "None taken," Blarg replied, hugging his battle axe plushie closer. Pew-Pew continued, "Humans don't just fight with weapons. They fight with ideas, with economics, with culture. Heck, they even fight with food." He displayed an image of a fierce-looking human holding a pineapple pizza. "This right here has caused more internal strife among humans than any political ideology." The nutrition counselor from the photosynthetic collective raised a leafy appendage. "I don't understand. It appears to be a standard nutrient disc with fruit topping. How is this controversial?" Pew-Pew's lasers pulsed in a way that suggested he was shaking his head. "Trust me, you don't want to know. I've seen entire human friendships end over this debate. It's brutal." The council chamber fell into a contemplative silence, broken only by the occasional whimper of existential dread. Zyx-567 cleared his throat analogues again. "Admiral, as fascinating as human cuisine warfare is, perhaps we could focus on their actual military capabilities." "Ah yes, of course," Pew-Pew flickered apologetically. "Well, here's the thing. Humans have this unique ability to turn almost anything into a weapon, and I mean anything." He displayed a series of images, a human wielding a chair in a brawl, another using a rolled-up magazine as a makeshift weapon, and bizarrely, someone fending off an attacker with a rubber chicken. "Their creativity in combat is unparalleled," Pew-Pew explained. "They have this saying, improvise, adapt, overcome. It's not just a motto, it's a way of life for them." The hive mind of the insectoid collective buzzed thoughtfully. "But surely their primitive projectile weapons are no match for our advanced energy weapons." Pew-Pew's lasers dimmed to a somber blue. "You'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the thing, humans don't fight fair. They don't follow the rules of engagement that we're used to. They're sneaky, they're crafty, and they have an alarming tendency to win against all odds." He projected a new set of images, showing human soldiers in various terrains, deserts, jungles, Arctic tundras. They can fight anywhere. Any climate, any condition, heck, they even fight underwater and in space. General Blarg's eyes widened. But how? How can one species be so adaptable?" "That's the million-credit question, isn't it?" Pew-Pew replied. "But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. Humans don't just fight with their bodies or their weapons, they fight with their minds." "Huh?" The Admiral displayed images of chessboards, complex mathematical equations, and computers. "Their capacity for strategy is terrifying. They've created games that simulate warfare with such complexity that some of our best tactical AIs short-circuited trying to understand them." Ambassador Cordy beeped in distress. "Are you referring to the game known as Civilization?" Pew-Pew's lasers pulsed in affirmation. "The very same. We lost 3 good AIs to that game. They couldn't handle the concept of Gandhi with nuclear weapons." A collective shudder ran through the assembly. The empath from the Feeling Nebula burst into tears, overwhelmed by the sheer absurdity of human nature. "But surely," Zyx-567 interjected, "with our superior numbers and technology we could overwhelm them." Pew-Pew's lasers turned a deep, warning red. "I wouldn't count on it. You see, humans have this thing called movies. They're like collective hallucinations that they watch for entertainment. And in these movies, they've played out every possible scenario of alien invasion. They've been preparing for us without even realizing it. He displayed clips from various human films: Independence Day, War of the Worlds, Mars Attacks. The assembled aliens watched in horror as they saw their hypothetical invasions thwarted again and again by plucky humans. Great Nebula, gasped the gaseous entity from the Oort Cloud Cooperative. They've simulated our defeats countless times. Exactly. Pew Pew exclaimed. And it gets worse. They don't just imagine defeating us, they imagine befriending us too. New images appeared, E.T. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Paul. In their minds were either terrifying invaders to be destroyed or potential friends to have wacky adventures with. There's no middle ground. The chamber erupted into chaos once more. Beings of all shapes and sizes chittered, buzzed, and squelched in panic. The crystalline consciousness from the Diamond Galaxy shattered into 1,000 pieces out of sheer anxiety. They pulled themselves together quickly. But it was quite the mess. Zyx 567 raised all 7 of his tentacles for silence. Please everyone calm down. Surely there must be some weakness we can exploit? Pew Pew's lasers dimmed to a thoughtful purple. Well, there is one thing. Humans have this bizarre fascination with beings they call influencers. He projected an image of a human holding a strange device in front of their face, pouting at it. They follow the words of these influencers with an almost religious fervor. If we could somehow infiltrate this system. Yes, exclaimed General Blard, jumping up on his chair. We could use these influencers to suggest that surrendering to alien overlords is the latest trend. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. But Pew Pew quickly cut it short. I wouldn't recommend it. Humans have a natural distrust of authority. The moment they realize we're behind the trend, they'll rebel, probably by making memes about us. Rice solder. Memes? Asked the Silicon Sentient, confusion clear in its robotic voice. Trust me. Pew Pew said gravely, you don't want to know. Let's just say that if weapons of mass destruction had a baby with interpretive dance, and that baby was raised by a committee of sleep-deprived comedians with a twisted sense of humor, that would still be less dangerous than human memes. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The weight of this revelation was palpable. Several members of the Gravity Manipulation Guild found themselves involuntarily increasing the local gravitational field. Finally, Zyx 567 spoke. So what you're saying, Admiral, is that Earth is essentially unconquerable. Pew Pew's lasers flickered in what could only be described as a shrug. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we could try, but considering these humans fight each other for fun, drive on roads they call freeways that are neither free nor ways, and willingly eat things called hot dogs that contain neither canine nor excessive heat, well, I think we might be out of our depth here. The Galactic Council chamber fell into a contemplative silence, broken only by the sound of Carl's mop and the occasional existential whimper. Zyx 567 sighed, all 7 of his lung analogs deflating simultaneously. Very well. I move that we officially categorize Earth as approach with extreme caution. Here be humans. The motion was passed unanimously, with several delegates adding riders like, and may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all, and can we maybe just pretend we never found them? As the council members filed out, still shell-shocked by the revelations about humanity, Admiral Pew Pew couldn't help but add one final comment. Oh, and whatever you do, don't get them started on whether a hot dog is a sandwich. That debate makes the Golgafrintians' Great Shoe event look like a polite disagreement. And so the Galactic Council of Supreme Beings, Overlords, and occasional pencil pushers adjourned, leaving Earth to its own devices. After all, any species crazy enough to invent Parker, wrestle alligators for fun, and debate the merits of pineapple on pizza was probably best left alone. In the days that followed, the galactic community buzzed with the news of Earth's classification. Across the cosmos, reactions varied. The Kronos Consortium, masters of time manipulation, decided to fast forward a few million years to see if humans would eventually calm down. They returned, wide-eyed and babbling about something called TikTok, and immediately petitioned the council to erase their memories. The telepathic collective of Betazed VII attempted to read the minds of humans en masse. They lasted approximately 3.7 seconds before retreating, leaving behind a hastily scrawled note that simply read, "Too much cake." The shape-shifting syndicate of Proteus Prime thought they had found the perfect infiltration strategy. They spent years studying human behavior and perfecting their disguises. Their first agent, disguised as a typical human male, confidently strolled into a Walmart on Black Friday, but the agent was never heard from again. The mission report, recovered from a mangled comm device, contained only one word: nope. The Culinary Federation of the Gastronebula, intrigued by human cuisine, decided to sample some Earth foods. They started with something called surströmming, assuming it must be a delicacy given its pungent aroma. The resulting diplomatic incident is still classified, but rumors speak of an entire star system being evacuated due to the smell. Meanwhile, back on Earth, life continued as usual, blissfully unaware of the cosmic kerfuffle they were causing. In a small town in the American Midwest, Billy Bob Joe was busy attaching a jet engine to his riding lawnmower. For efficiency, he explained to his bewildered neighbor. Unbeknownst to Billy Bob, his project was being intensely studied by the Galactic Engineers Guild, who couldn't decide whether humans were mechanical geniuses or just really lucky not to blow themselves up. Across the ocean, in a cozy pub in England, a heated debate was taking place. The topic, whether tea should be poured before or after the milk. The emotional resonance beings of Empathia Prime, who had been secretly monitoring human communications, were baffled by the intensity of feelings over what seemed like a trivial matter. They added tea preparation protocols to their list of potential human pressure points, right next to the correct way to hang toilet paper and pronunciation of GIF. In Japan, a group of scientists had just invented a robot that could feel love, but only for vintage toasters. The Artificial Intelligence Consortium of Sigma IX watched in equal parts horror and fascination. It's been millennia perfecting emotionless logic, and here were humans casually imbuing machines with the most complex of sentiments, and for kitchen appliances, no less. The Galactic Council, still reeling from their recent revelations about humanity, decided to form a permanent observation committee. Their mission to study humans from a safe distance and try to make sense of their bewildering behavior. The committee was dubbed Operation Earthwatch, though it was informally known as the What the Heck Are They Doing Now Squad. The committee's first report was a doozy. Humans have invented a new sport. It involves chasing a wheel of cheese down a dangerously steep hill. Participants often sustain injuries. They consider this fun. We are beginning to suspect that the human concept of fun may be a form of complex self-destructive behavior. The report was met with disbelief. Surely this must be a mistake. But no further investigation confirmed it. The cheese rolling event at Cooper's Hill was very real and very popular. Admiral Pew Pew, who had become something of an expert on human behavior, much to his chagrin, was called in to comment. "Oh yeah, that's nothing," he said, his lasers flickering with what might have been amusement. "Wait till you hear about their bull running festival." The committee listened in horror as Pew Pew described the event in Pamplona. By the end of his explanation, 3 members had fainted, 2 had started writing their wills, and 1 had spontaneously evolved the ability to face palm, despite not having anything resembling a face or palms. But it wasn't just human recreational activities that baffled the alien observers. Their approach to problem solving was equally perplexing. Take, for example, the human response to climate change. The atmospheric regulation conglomerate of Nimbus IV watched in confusion as humans simultaneously ignored the problem, argued about its existence, proposed solutions, and steadfastly refused to implement said solutions. It's like watching someone notice their house is on fire, one observer noted, debate whether fire is real, invent a sophisticated fire extinguisher, and then use it as a doorstop while the house burns down around them. The humans' approach to healthcare was another source of alien bafflement. The medical minds of Beta Centauri were particularly stumped by the American healthcare system. "Let me get this straight," one of their analysts said during a briefing. "They have the ability to cure many diseases, but whether a person receives treatment is determined by a complex system involving employment, insurance, and something called a deductible. And they consider this normal?" The briefing room erupted into confused chirps and bewildered beeps. One being, a member of a species that communicated via interpretive dance, tied itself in knots trying to express its confusion. But perhaps the most perplexing aspect of human behavior, at least from the galactic community's perspective, was their seeming ability to believe contradictory things simultaneously. The logic lords of Vulcan Prime, no relation to a certain pointy-eared sci-fi species, spent years studying human belief systems. Their final report was a single sentence: "It doesn't make sense." This was followed by a request for early retirement for the entire research team. Indeed, humans seem to have an uncanny ability to hold opposing views without their brains short-circuiting. They could believe in both science and superstition, advocate for peace while waging war, preach equality while practicing discrimination. It's as if their minds operate on quantum principles, mused Professor Zorp of the Paradox Institute. Every human is simultaneously a genius and an idiot, a saint and a sinner, until you actually observe them. Then they collapse into one state until you blink, and then there's something else entirely. This led to a new field of study, quantum humanics. Its first principle: the only consistent thing about humans is their inconsistency. Meanwhile, back on Earth, a video of a cat riding a Roomba while dressed as a shark had just gone viral. The Internet Oversight Committee of the digital realm watched in confusion as human productivity across the globe dropped by 15% due to people watching and rewatching this 15-second clip. But why? Asked the committee chair, its digital avatar glitching in confusion. Admiral Pew Pew, who had been reluctantly kept on as a human behavior consultant, simply shrugged. He'd been practicing the gesture. Because cats, and sharks, and Roombas. Look, don't try to understand it. Just accept that if humans can combine multiple things they like, they'll do it. Logic and productivity be damned. The committee chair's avatar crashed, rebooted, and then initiated a full system update. Sometimes forgetting was the only way to cope with the reality of human behavior. As news of Earth's peculiarities spread across the galaxy, a strange thing began to happen. Instead of fear or disdain, many alien species began to view Earth with a kind of bemused affection. Humans, for all their contradictions and chaos, had a certain charm. Yes, they were volatile and unpredictable. Yes, their behavior often defied logic and self-preservation, but they were also creative, resilient, and capable of incredible acts of kindness and heroism, usually immediately followed by something incredibly stupid. But still, galactic tourism agencies began to offer Earth-watching tours. From a safe distance, of course. Very safe. Like other side of the galaxy safe. The tours were a hit. The most popular package was called the Hold My Beer Special, which promised views of humans doing inadvisable things in the name of awesomeness. Some more daring alien species even started a secret betting pool on human activities. The current hot bet was on how long it would take humans to notice the galactic community. The Precognition Syndicate of Cassandra X refused to participate, citing wild unpredictability and possible temporal paradoxes. As for the Galactic Council, they had finally come to a decision about Earth. In a historic session, Supreme Overlord Zix 567 addressed the Assembly. After careful consideration and multiple incidents of our observation teams needing therapy, we have decided on our official stance regarding Earth. We will neither attempt to conquer nor make official contact. Instead, we shall classify Earth under a new category, Protected Chaos Zone. The motion passed unanimously. Even Carl the janitor voted in favor, and he wasn't even supposed to be in the room. And so Earth continued its merry way through the cosmos, a swirling ball of beautiful chaos in a sea of stars. Its inhabitants remained blissfully unaware of their galactic audience, too busy arguing about whether a hot dog was a sandwich or if pineapple belonged on pizza. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth became something of a cosmic reality show. Aliens would gather around their viewing devices, at a safe distance of several light years, to watch humans do, well, human things. "Ooh, look," they'd say. "They're Area 51. No, wait, now they're eating Tide Pods. Oh, now they're what's planking. Is that some kind of torture?" And somewhere, in a distant corner of the galaxy, Admiral Pew Pew sat in a bar, nursing a drink that glowed an improbable shade of purple. A newbie space traveler sidled up next to him, antenna twitching excitedly. "Hey, I heard you're the expert on humans. What are they really like?" Pew Pew's lasers dimmed to a weary blue. He took a long sip of his drink, his photonic structure briefly taking on that improbable purple hue. "Kid," he said finally, "humans are like a box of antimatter chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, but you can be damn sure it's going to be explosive." The newbie blinked all 7 of its eyes. I don't understand." Pew Pew chuckled, a sound like a disco ball caught in a blender. "Yeah, that's humanity for you. If you understand them, you're doing it wrong." And with that, he turned back to his drink, leaving the newbie to ponder the wonderful, terrible, beautiful chaos that was humanity. As for Earth, it kept spinning, oblivious to its status as the galaxy's favorite enigma. Its inhabitants continued to defy expectations, break rules, especially the laws of probability, and occasionally do something so brilliant it made the rest of the universe hold its breath in awe. But mostly, they argued about cats on the internet, and somehow that was perfect.